So I'm going to be introducing the concepts of mini-DAOs today. And I suppose this ties in nicely if you came to our Nick's keynote last night on the masters that he wants to run for DAO leadership. So this all ties in together, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. Now, before I jump off, does anybody have any questions, or does anybody know what a mini DAO is? I should probably even ask. If you can't respond, it's okay. I'll just carry on. But yeah, I'll ask the question again. Does anyone know what a mini DAO is? Cool. Okay. So mini DAO is a DAO that exists within a DAO. That always makes me laugh when you have to say that. So a mini DAO is a DAO that exists within a DAO and inherits the governance structure of the DAO that it sits within. So propaganDAO, the mini DAO that I'm going to be running with it, a guy called Chris. He can't make it today to this call, I'm afraid. He's actually on a flight. But yeah, propaganDAO is a mini DAO that exists within the finance.vote framework. Lizzle, who's here, she's going to be running the Data DAO alongside Ksenia. And they're going to talk more about that next week. So I'm not going to spoil their fun. But that mini DAO also takes on the governance structure of finance.vote. Hey, Lizzle, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I hope this works. I had to connect to my phone. You can hear me. Okay, great. Yeah, hi, I'm Lizzle. I did some data work for the finance.vote, and eventually the idea came up to start a data mini DAO, which is like a DAO in a DAO, like in the finance.vote DAO. And we've started 2 weeks ago, and it's still very early, but I think it's going somewhere, and it's fun to really think about how to structure that. And so far, we created a couple of channels. We we wrote a general concept, which is of course very open, and everyone is invited to join in, comment on. We wrote a small starter guide, and we posted the first task in our data work channel. And yeah, I can talk about all of this a bit later. But I think what was really interesting for me personally was to see or to rethink a little bit the limits we have as a DAO, because right now it's a bit more of a permission DAO, which kind of makes it more a work group to start with. But that's just because we're embedded in the Discord of finance.vote. So we had a lot of discussions at the beginning about permissions, like who gets permissions to the channels and who gets to be an admin and stuff, because if I, for example, have admin rights, then I have admin rights over all the channels on the finance server. But yeah, we can talk about this later if you want.
Sure. Yeah, we can jump into that a bit later. I know you guys are going to do another session next week to talk about.
Yeah, we haven't really found a time yet, but it's most likely going to be Monday at 1, and we're going to post it again. But most likely it's going to be after the strategy call Monday, and then we just kick off. We explain everything, and Ksenia's going to be there as well.
Cool. So yeah, so Liz will touch on it a bit there. So like a mini DAO is a DAO that's embedded within a DAO and takes on the governance structure of the parent DAO. So what does that mean? That means, for example, that the mini DAO has its own treasury. So there's a multi-sig wallet that's got 3 signatures on that, so no one can rug the treasury. It is independent though, aside from that. So with that treasury, what the goal of, let me run you through a few things on propaganda. Let me just change my notes for a second. So this should give you an idea about propaganda, and this should give you an idea about mini DAOs in general. So mini DAOs can be anything. First of all, there is no limitation what they'll be. There will be a number of mini DAOs within the finance.vote system. So there'll be a DAO for the education and research. There'll be a DAO for the development. So there'll be like, I'm just calling it Dev DAO for now. That's probably a really bad name. I'm sure Ksenia will come up with something far more interesting than that. I'm really bad at that stuff. She's really good. So yeah, there'll be a Dev DAO. There'll be a wellness DAO. And we're going to have a DAO for everything, for all the different things that we're going to be focusing on as a DAO. But those DAOs will be independent of themselves. So the goal for many of these DAOs will be to spin up, provide services to the finance.vote system, and if it becomes appropriate, or if it's the goal to actually become its own DAO, spin up and leave the finance.vote system. I suppose there's many steps along the way for that. First of all, like I said, it's about providing services to this DAO, to the finance.vote system. And then it will be about providing services to other DAOs. So we would, for example, go and help another DAO set up their media structure or their data structure or their development structure or their wellness structure and do that as like a service. And that's where the DAO leaders that we were talking about yesterday and just in general would probably go out and embed themselves within Alliance DAOs and help them get themselves going or go and start other DAOs. So there's many different ways for this to work. So like I said, so the role of propaganDAO is the creation, curation, and distribution of content. So that's creation, curation, and distribution of content. So we're going to be running as many experiments as possible that are aimed at creating viral content. Now, there's lots of different ways that we're going to do this, but the aim is to generate as much community content as possible and distribute that through as many platforms as possible. So for example, an idea we're playing around with at the moment is FVT DAO Twitter, which is going to be different from the finance.vote Twitter. And this Twitter account will be pumping out as much community generated content as possible. And it will be more meme focused, so more at the playful level, whereas the finance.vote Twitter account is more aligned with the sort of rigor of the brand, like the academic, philosophical side of things, whereas this other account's going to be more community centered, a bit more fun, and it will be more around trying to gauge the zeitgeist of the wider community and bring in more people. So there's a lot there. That alone, these goals are very ambitious, which is good. We need as many people as possible from the community to help with this through many different. For example, one of the things we're working on at the moment on the back end of this is how to easily capture content that's put into Discord. So someone puts a really cool meme into Discord. At the moment, there's like a really uncool sort of way of logging that, which is this. It's basically a form, right, that someone would fill out, put their meme into, drop their ETH address, and that way we can reward them for creating the meme. But we're going to we've created a system where it's just a bot that we've put together with Zapier and some other tools that if someone does a /meme, it will automatically capture that into the database, and it's like far less friction. So we're trying to think of all these different ways of capturing content, and then how do we distribute that content? So what we're going to probably open up soon is a weekly vote on memes. So all the memes that I put in for the week, they'll be in vote and everyone can vote for the best meme, and we can do different types of competitions around that. I'm not particularly good at picking the best memes, I think, personally. I don't really get them that much. I can create some memes, but only around things that I really understand, and that's all like really old pop culture stuff generally. You guys are far better at that than I am. And so once we've got that competition going, that's going to be one way we're going to create content and obviously reward the winner of that as well. We're looking to hire as many transcribers as possible at the moment, and we've got so much video content. I'm always editing content, basically trying to get up onto YouTube. It takes time. We need support in that, because what those people are going to be doing is they're going to review like the content that's coming out. They're going to capture short snips basically. So it could be a 30-second piece from Nick or a 5-minute piece from Nick or whoever, Ksenia, and creating these video shorts so we can pump them out on different social media channels. Because right now, most of the videos that we've got are like hour-long videos. It's a lot. And they're not transcribed, so we're not being able to then make different types of media content out of that, because once we've got the video, we can transcribe that, we can create blog posts, we can create tweets, we can create all types of content, LinkedIn, Medium, Mirror. So there's all these different ways of getting the information out there. And right now, we're a bit bottlenecked to the fact that we've got all this content, but we can't transcribe it. So we definitely, anybody here that would like to come and help the DAO, work with the DAO, get rewarded by the DAO in the airdrop, that's a great way of just getting into it. The other added benefit of doing this job is you actually get to listen to Nick speak all over again, and you will get smarter just by doing it. I promise you. Like, I've been doing it a lot, and there's so many things that he says that I only pick up on when I'm listening to it like 2 or 3 times over. And when you're doing the transcription job, you'll definitely get that opportunity. Not only do you get paid for it, you'll definitely, learn more quicker as well. So we're definitely hiring lots of people in that space. We're about to launch the weekly newsletter as well. There was that poll, you guys voted. We've taken that into account. We've created a format, and we're going to get that out into the community and into the wider world as soon as possible. And we're going to keep ideally what we're thinking is we want to create curated DAO news as obviously like a top feature there, and we'd love to get that again curated by the community, so things that people see, they post, and if we post their article in the newsletter, there's a reward for them as well for that. I think you guys are going to read a lot more than I am. I'm pretty focused on what I'm doing. I don't get the opportunity to do that much research anymore. And it'd be great to be able to reward you guys for contributing to that as well. Same goes with a monthly newsletter. By the way, I know I'm talking a lot, so if anyone has any questions, please say anything. If I'm talking too fast, please let me know as well. Okay, I'm just going to rattle on then. So yeah, so we've got the monthly newsletter, which is something I've been doing for the last 5 months, and it's quite timely actually. It takes quite a lot of time to do, and again, we really want to get the community involved in helping to generate the content for that. But on the other side, we've got people like Data DAO that we can work with now, and love to get Lizzle involved in producing like interesting data points, both for the weekly and the monthly. So I wanted to talk to you about that as a bit later on, Lizzle. In this conversation, we can talk a bit about how we can work together. And that's the thing, I think, with these miniDAOs, it's going to be a lot about synergies across the different DAOs, because ultimately we're all working towards the same goal. And that means we're going to be needing to work with each other, rely on each other, and support each other. And I just think it's going to be really interesting to see how this kind of like grows and how we find synergies. I think it's going to be really interesting. One of the main little projects we're working on right now is like a separate landing page. So we're going to basically create a landing page that's going to focus on something which is okay for normies to read, to get them into what is a DAO. So we're like trying to capture as many Google AdWords and do all that stuff on the SEO side of things about people who are just DAO curious, I think is the right word. And we're going to hit them with a bit of just a short piece on maybe something like Constitution DAO, because that seems to have got out into the real world. People seem to actually know about that outside of crypto, or maybe something else. But basically, we're then going to take them into the funnel, where they're going to receive an email a week on why DAOs, what is a DAO, how to work in a DAO. So that's something Nick and I have been working on creating in terms of the content, and Chris and I have been working on in terms of creating the funnel and the landing page. So that should be a really interesting way to try and get people outside the space who are DAO curious into what we're doing here. And we're looking at the moment for subject matter experts in the community on different platforms. So anybody out there who's got insights into, say, LinkedIn or TikTok or Twitter or anything. I'm not great with social media. I understand it, I can use it, but I don't, I wouldn't say I'm a subject matter expert in any of it. And I'm sure people out there who are and would love to speak to you, and you can help us, build these viral mechanisms so we can create a really nice streamlined way of getting community-driven content out into the public. So what we're doing as well at the same time at the moment is we've been creating a content library. So anything that's ever been created by finance.vote, we're putting into a library, and we're tagging for different types of uses. And then we're going to basically, that's what I was talking about earlier on with the meme collector. And we're going to have different / commands in Discord to be able to collect things, propagate things, and then distribute them. So there's loads of little things going on the back end at the moment. So the front end doesn't look that busy because we're not pushing lots of stuff out, but we're just building all the little back end systems in order to get this all going. So if anyone in the community is an Airtable expert or a Notion expert or anything like that, then again, we'd love to speak to you guys, because you can help us build the back end tools quicker and probably more efficient than we can. And yeah, we'd definitely love any support that is available there. And we're also looking for things like scribes. So a scribe, I don't know if are you guys familiar with?
No, I'm not, honestly.
No? Boardroom is like this voting aggregation platform. So they collect data on all the different DAOs. You should have a look at it. It looks at all the voting.
Oh, that sounds super interesting. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll send you a link in a sec. But basically, so there's two sides. They've got this like voting aggregation piece, but then they've got this scribe thing. And every DAO has a scribe who basically updates the wider world and what's going on within the community on a weekly basis or something, or on a monthly basis. So that could be interesting if someone's interested in doing some writing about what we're doing here. You could be the scribe for finance.vote out in the world on Boardroom. So yeah, so these are like the things that we're doing. So I think you can see a theme there in terms of what we're trying to build and in terms of what we're trying to Gus, who's in this chat. Basically, we're currently working on a project of how we're going to change the Discord and basically rebuild the Discord to make it more user-friendly to people who are DAO curious. So it's not like this big dump of channels. There's like a progression. There's things to do to build your knowledge. There's goals that you have as a Discord user, not just like, okay, you've joined, here's everything, and here's your mind officially blown, which I think happens to a lot of people right now. We want to make it so their knowledge levels up. And as their knowledge is leveling up, the Discord opens up to them and they find everything a lot easier to handle and process. They're more likely to then go and get involved in governance, and they're more likely to get involved in these conversations, and then they're more likely to come and do tasks and build the DAO. That's another project that it doesn't currently, I suppose, I hadn't thought about it like this before. It probably belongs here under propaganDAO, or maybe not. I'm not sure. Gus,
Matt, is that the channel that is called gamification and onboarding? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's a really interesting channel. I saw it the other day, and I didn't really know what it was about, but it looked interesting.
I did my typical Matt naming convention. I think I called it like Processes Working Group. It was like that.
Yeah, I
It
could
was
say they
rubbish.
changed it. Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, you're right. It is rubbish. So yeah, so we've got this dummy Discord server that we've been setting up and under me. So I'll put the link in. I'll put the link. I think I did put the link in the gamification channel, and anyone can come in and take a look and get a feel for it. Once we've got a bit further along, we're definitely going to invite lots of people over to come and test it, and it's going to be going live beginning of January. So over the break, basically over the next 2 weeks, we're going to change this Discord into what we've created over there. So for example, Liz, with the task board or tasks in general, I think you're right. We should integrate that into the Discord in a more sort of like fluent way. I suppose that was the first iteration, and Discord integration in a more fluent way is the next iteration. And there's things to do. There's lots to do. So I've talked a lot, and I hope everyone caught everything I was saying. If you have any questions, now is the time.
You talked a bit about finding these people with talent for social media, but it's not clear for me if I do know somebody, what's the way of bringing them in, especially because some of these they're normies. They won't be getting all this, but they understand the social media tool. But it'd be nice if they can talk to somebody that gets it and can talk to people that don't get it in a way that's not really scary.
Yeah, crypto is scary. I think we can't simplify what is not simple, basically. So there's always this desire to make everything as easy and as frictionless as possible for everybody. But I just don't know if that's actually possible, especially with where we're at right now in the technology. It's really early still. Everything's very clunky. So the technology in itself is scary, but social media isn't, right? So I suppose the thing that they need, so you could be a social media expert, but if you're not really interested in crypto and what we're doing, then it's probably not going to be a fit. But if they are interested in learning about crypto, they can just come join the server and they can come and talk to us. And it's just conversation. I think there's no shortcut around it. There's no watch this video and you'll be good. It's come join the Discord, come join some chats, see if it makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
once we have this landing page for people to get more integrated, then that would be a great step. You speak to somebody and you can say, hey, check out this page, and then they can get a feel for it. Because right now they need to be people that are comfortable landing somewhere and having to deep dive and figure stuff out.
For the YouTube channel, actually, it's how I usually get started. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I read blog posts, and then I just ask my question in the Discord.
So exactly, we've got loads of content going up into YouTube, but it's not super accessible mentally. Like it's about finance.vote DAO governance mechanisms. Like good luck watching that for the first time if you've never watched anything else by us before. So yeah, so there's all these videos that need to be created, like intro type stuff, shorts. I think one of the things I would like to do is create a YouTube channel specifically for finance.vote short videos and really pump those. Because I think I understand correctly, you should separate them, but I'm open to just having it all under one channel as well. I don't know what you guys think.
I think it's okay to have it all under one channel, but I think it'd be really interesting to draw up a strategy of attraction. I don't know who the ideal person in the community is to think of these strategies of capturing and connecting with different audiences, but it would be something really worthwhile spending some time on.
Chris, the guy that's the other DAO leader, he's very good at this stuff. This is like his bread and butter. He's not across all social media platforms, but he does do a lot of YouTube type stuff, and he does a lot of Substack stuff and other newsletter stuff. But he's just one guy. Like, we're going to need like more brains than just one brain. So and this is what I mean. It's a call to the community now. I'm going to put out some messages to the community asking who's keen on this, who's got some skills, but it might not be in our community right now. Our community is relatively technical. There may not be like social media types. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think.
Matt, I was just wondering, if you have all these needs, it's pretty much similar to what we have in the Data DAO, and you have all these different needs. What do you think, what would be the best way, or maybe you guys can tell us, what would be the best way for us to communicate the needs we have? Like what we do right now, for example, in the Data DAO, we have this channel, it's called Data Work, and then we just drop like a very long post in there and say, this is what we need, and this is where you can find the data, etc. And please drop your work here. But maybe that is not the right approach. Maybe we don't reach the people we need to reach with all the things we need. So maybe you guys have a better idea of how we can talk to you when we need something.
Is that a question to me or the question to the community that's listening?
Actually to the community, but also to you. Maybe you have something like, you have some experience already with something that works, but maybe the others have an idea too.
I've got an idea. I'll share mine in a second. Let's see if anybody else has anything to say.
I feel like I'm never short of ideas, but I do think that there needs to be some integration between the different mini-DAOs to understand what are the macro needs. Like one of the macro needs that for me, since I joined this community, was very clear, was that the need of organization and management of the community itself was very important. And that's why I thought I sort of pulled Raga 20 times to get in here until he saw it like I did. I think that the whole process, as we've been working with it, is going to be really helpful for the job boards and to try to attract people to those roles. So maybe if Raga wants to explain a bit of what we're doing there, I think that would be a good solution.
Matt already covered both the idea of a landing page and what we're doing on Discord, I think, before you joined.
Oops.
No, it's all good. Yeah, no, yeah, but so I'll just run through that again then, or you can, Gus. I don't mind, either or. But it's basically actually, Gus, do you want to take this? Do you want to answer that?
Sure. Yeah. Of course. So the idea of this landing page is to have a place where people that don't understand crypto but could potentially be very interested in it gets a place to go where they'll be a kind of an introduction to what these technologies are. And there's a couple of things you need to talk about before you talk about what a DAO is. And in my mind, it would be really cool to have one of those videos where people are drawing stuff as things are getting explained. And there would be a section there that talks about the values of the community. And there'd be a section there that talks about how it's a place that you can really earn some money. And this way, the landing page can reach out to all different types of motivation of why you would want to join this community, because you share the values, because you want to earn some money, because you have the skill set that can add this value. But when we talk about reaching out to all these talented people, like I've been a gamer and all my life, and still Discord is somehow, I had it installed, but I barely used it. But it's then about kind of introducing them. This is Discord because this is where the digital home is at, and guiding them through. And then once they are at Discord, we're like, okay, Discord also needs to work in a way that progression and slowly giving people more information with a lot of resources, from simple things about more information on how to use Discord, to as they're moving along and they need to set up their first wallet. And we want to, in the ideal place is we're going to have really good content, either be already created out there with linking, or from all the talks that are out there through the transcriptions. We'll have shorter videos that are talking about specific things, and there'll be some hand holding until they get their feet wet and they start understanding the community and how the community works and where they can talk and where they should talk about things and ask for help. So it's a user-friendly path so that we can include all this talent that right now we'll see the barrier of, I don't understand this technology, I don't understand these tools, I'm not really motivated to put the energy to learn all these new things to be able to join here. I'm just going to go take my talent somewhere else. And of course, I feel like I belong to this kind of community. So it's a way to bring it all together and the big challenge is to do this in a way that keeps it simple.
Rega, I just want to ask, I like this idea. I just didn't understand. The landing page is like an external website, or it's something that we're going to build inside the Discord server?
The idea is a website because this is the technology right now that people know how to access. So if we do this beautiful job, but getting to it's put in a place where people are not comfortable, I think right from the start, we're missing out on a lot of potential talent. Because right now, what people know is web browsers. So in my point of view, it really should at this point be a website.
I think it's one of the ways to look at it is all about breaking barriers to objection. And the more specialized you become, the more barriers there are. If you don't know SPSS, if you haven't dived deep into Excel functions, you wouldn't be able to do anything in Data DAO. But maybe there are some really good mathematicians that haven't been down that path or something. So in this case, there's a huge amount of community available, but there's probably a lot of objections and fears in the middle. Do I know how to use Discord? Do I even understand what crypto really is? And what Gus has put his head together with us and we meshed together is almost like a walkthrough. And so I think at least that's the best we can deliver at the moment, to help people understand how to integrate to the community and actually find the things that would interest them. And so even the job board, there's like a walk in, there's a dip your toes into it, learn the process, and then go and find your interest in it. And I think that we're going to see a lot more uptake of tasks and activity in the community because of this process.
I really do like the idea. Just my only concern here is if we have that website or this walkthrough, as you called it, which I like, but how would people find the landing page? Because I don't, if you look at, let's just think about data people. Where do data people hang out? On Kaggle and some of the forums, and I don't know, probably taking some tutorials. This is probably where I would find them, but how do I draw them on the website?
No, so I was going to say, so look, the role of any of these DAOs is to experiment. So the only answer is we don't know the answer to that question yet. But what we can do is we can create experiments to figure out what the answers to those questions are. And we A/B test and we iterate and we evolve. And that's what we have to do. So this is the first evolve. So this is the next iteration of the Discord. It's the next iteration of like, how do we bring people into the community? How do we bring people into the DAO? And how do we get them engaged in governance? How do we get them engaged in tasks? We don't know the answer to all these questions yet. What we're doing is all pretty new. It's not all fully new, but it's new enough that there isn't like a playbook.
And I think that yes and no, because you're talking about the product itself, but the issue here is a bigger issue of how to do business almost. And I know that maybe this language isn't the language that you guys are necessarily used to, but when you are managing any business, you need to think, how do I generate demand? How do I manage my supply? How do I deliver on time? And the delivery on time is usually your products, and the products have been really well thought out. They are there, they're robust, we have good people managing them. We haven't really put a lot of effort into how do I engage my demand? How do I find the correct profile of people? What kind of communication do I need to do with them? There's a missing piece, both in terms of community as well as potential clients for DAOs. We haven't really, I'm not judging it as, oh, this is a failure. There's so many things to do. You need to start somewhere. But if I look at it from like a business planning kind of point of view, there's a lot to be done on the demand side from different sides, as well as the second part was the integration part we're doing now. And I think the next part to tackle is to say, now that we know that whomever comes here is going to find a smooth path in and feel part of the community, we need to really focus in on how do we find the people that we would like.
Yeah, I think I'm using different language, but we're saying the same thing. It's like,
Okay.
you know, it's but because there's two things here. It's not it's so the product aside, forget the product. We're in a space where people are afraid of it. People have been told to be angry about it. People are interested, but it seems really scary. So forget the clients for 2 seconds. Forget like the demand side. Just think supply side in terms of like people to join the community and be a part of this. Not even to do tasks, just to get people into the community. That's, I think, not the first part, but in terms of outreach, like outside of the community, there's that. But yeah, look, in terms of what we're doing inside the community, in terms of community management, that's a whole another piece that needs to be tackled. So I think I agree with everything you've said. Yeah, it's fundamentally true. Nothing there you said, which is not language I don't understand or isn't true. Yeah, we just bit by bit. And right now,
I didn't want to imply that we're not able to do these things. It's just that I haven't really been hearing about them. And so I'm a bit scared to start to use very commercial language that is not, I haven't really heard too many people talk about before.
I think there's two reasons for that. Firstly, we think that language, it doesn't, you can shoehorn it in here and it works, but it's not the language of the culture of the DAO or of DAOs in general, right? All the sort of Web 2 trad.org commercial conversations and language, we're having them, but we don't tend to use the same language. We're using different words because we can redefine it now. It doesn't have to be what was once before. We're creating new technology for a new world, and that requires new language quite often. Like when big corporates came up and you had all these sort of like management techniques and stuff, they had to create all new language for that to work, right? The old language didn't work. This is the same thing. The old language isn't really going to work here. We can talk about them and we can have these conversations, no worries. But I don't know if it's going to connect with people in the same way that it would in a trad.org or Web2 type company. So we're going to find new ways of doing things, and we're going to find new words, and we're going to find new processes, and people that are keen to be in that space. I don't know what you think.
I just want to add, I do agree, but I don't in a way, because I think, yeah, of course, we're all a bit allergic to Web 2, but nevertheless, we can still learn from it. We shouldn't reinvent the wheel all the time. And there's some good stuff in there that is very, let's say, basic, and it also applies to communities in a way. Maybe we shouldn't call it the same, because that might just scare people away, or people would just say, oh, now you turn a DAO into a corporate, but we should still not completely dismiss it, I think.
Yeah, no, totally. I don't think anyone's saying dismiss everything. I'm just saying that we have to just evolve, right? That's this is a new iteration. I'm not saying we need to reinvent the wheel. I think we're all saying the same thing. Right? We're talking in circles a little bit because I think we're all saying the same thing.
I agree. I think in the end of the day, is the metro vocab is not really the key issue.
Correct. It is a thing though, because words are important. So it's like this, it's not the key issue, you're right, but it is like a thing, because someone said this to me recently, words are spells. You can put spells on people with words. And I think that's a really, really clever way of thinking about language, because that's what you do when you speak, you put spells on people. Like, so interesting. But cool. Okay, so you've got an idea of what we're doing here at propaganDAO, how that all links to what we're doing with the job board, the new Discord, this sort of landing page. So to answer one of your questions, as you asked about the landing page, yeah, it's going to be an experiment. Yeah, it may not work. Most of the things we're going to do are going to be experiments. I expect most of the experiments to fail, frankly. But I expect them, when we fail, to learn something and then to have another experiment to see what doesn't work. And I think that's going to be the way for the next good few years, we're going to be in this searching phase of trying to figure out, searching far and wide for the best way to get things done for a period of time. Things will change, obviously, when other people catch on to them, but we'll just keep experimenting and keep searching for good ways to get things.
So, Matt, what you're saying is that propaganDAO is the place that you want to be in if you want to be influencing the strategy, the words, the processes. It should be the home for that. Did I understand that right?
Yeah, I think propaganda is going to be a place to run experiments. So whether they're community growth experiments, whether they're going to be outreach experiments with regards to things like social media, whether it's all types of experiments, we're going to be running there.
Matt, if it's okay, I might also want to say a couple of words about the Data DAO, because I think
Please.
pretty similar in a way, because if you look at it at first, you might be a bit compelled because you think, oh, it's data stuff and I don't know how to code, or I don't know how to analyze data. But at the end, we do need talent, and we need skilled people that know how to use SQL or Python, but there's a lot of other work, which is creating an infographic, is something you can just do by using Canva or in PowerPoint. Or we need people that just help us collect data, which is also not a very difficult task. It's something everybody could do. But then also, should say, like, we produce all kinds of stuff, and a lot of stuff will be very similar to, or like in cooperation with the propaganDAO. Or what you can do also is just take like a report we create and just turn it into a blog post. And you don't even need to have any coding skills for that. You just need to be able to read the data that we analyzed and then turn it into words. That would be very helpful if you just help us communicate the data better. And then in terms of experiments, we also have the same setup in the way that we still need to define ourselves, and we need to understand how we self-organize and how we govern ourselves. And if any of you wants to come in and join and help us, we have this channel which is called Data DAO Boiler Room, which is basically all kinds of orga and meta stuff. And it's about how to set up a DAO. And even if you're not interested in any of the data work, but you want to just be part of that experiment of setting up a DAO, you're welcome to join and help us set it up. And then if you feel that your work is done, you can jump on to the next DAO and just come in and gain some experience, even if you don't want to do any data work. Like, there's plenty of work.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. Like I say, I think there's going to be loads of opportunity for cross collaboration. I think that's going to be like the main thing, probably. Actually, we'll probably end up doing more of that than we can imagine. So it'd be great to actually talk to you at some point about the sort of data you could help us represent in the weekly and the monthly newsletter, like what you think would be.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can just tell us what you need and we try to find it, and vice versa. If you have something we want you to communicate, we can, send it over.
100%. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be just a case of finding the best way to make that sort of. I think it would just be conversation like this, to be honest. That will be the best way, probably in the beginning, and then we'll figure out.
Yeah, definitely. I have to say, I'm really, really happy we're doing this conversation today, because I didn't even know all the stuff you were doing. Like you said, it was all in the back end, and I couldn't, if I go through the channels, I wouldn't have seen it. You do so many cool things I didn't know about.
Yeah, we're just trying to build, really. Just building is the thing. That's what I do, is what I enjoy doing. And I don't enjoy spending too much time tapping things out in Discord. I'm not really a typer, I'm a builder.
I think I see two issues here. The number one, we're going to be able to solve with a new process, which is to be able to create a process. So for example, just now Liza was talking and I was thinking, okay, I have 15 years of market research experience. I spent a good portion of my life looking at data, transforming it into something that a general public could digest. Maybe I should talk to her. So I enter the Data DAO channel. I don't have permissions to write in this channel. Next iteration, we're going to be able to already have that set up. We've created a process by which we're going to be able to talk to the DAO leaders directly, and we've trained people how to get there. So we've already solved that problem. It doesn't matter that there's something now, but I was just thinking, okay, next step is already solved. But then this showcased to me the second issue. Because we are all decentralized, the communication of what's going on is so much more fundamental, because we can easily be replicating work that doesn't need to be done. And it's important to build on each other's ideas that the communication is much better. So I'm wondering if we're missing a trick of having a place that these things are communicated. I don't remember if we planned for it, Raga.
I think it's really good what you just said, because it's really is the main issue here. So I I do it's really stupid that you don't have the permission to the channel. We have to go over this again. But my idea was also, I think things work better if they're like in person. So my idea was to have like regular sessions for the mini DAOs, and maybe then people can just join, and it's easier for them to feel like, to get a feeling of what's going on and how they can like jump in. And Matt, maybe you want to join that, but my idea was to have it like twice a week for the Data DAO, and one will be about the Data DAO, about the data work we're doing, and another one will be a bit more meta, where we talk about how we organize ourselves. And maybe the meta one we could do together with the propaganDAO. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah.
To shut you off, sorry.
No, I think so. Yeah, there's definitely a plan to have, like, in the new year, to have space in the program for both the DAO, for all the DAOs. There are going to be many more mini DAOs launching in the new year. There's definitely capacity for that in the program. It's just a case of getting it structured. But I think that sounds like a good idea. Give me an idea. When you say meta conversation, what do you mean?
Yeah, pretty much about, if I meta, like, who are we, what are we, what's our objective, because that might change also all the time. And it should be something that is evolving with the community and not just through the DAO leader. That would be very top down. And also, of course, like, how do we organize ourselves? Like, how do we set up the wallets? How do we pay people? How many tasks do we put out? What kind of task do we want to gate it in a way that we check the task first, or can anyone put a task in the channel? There's lots of questions. It could get on and on. There's so much stuff.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like I get what you're saying. Yeah, so yeah, it's just a case of putting it into the program, which is
I think that what we're saying here is that the schedule should have a mini DAO showcase or a DAO showcase session that the DAOs will take turn. I don't know that every week, but I think if you have 20 DAOs or 30 DAOs or how many ever DAOs, you need to think around what the frequency is. But it'd be nice to get at least maybe once a month or every 6 weeks an update, and it's also an opportunity for that DAO to reach out to the community and say, these are things we're needing, these are kind of conversations we're having, on top of regular channels of putting task boards or posting things. I think it's a great way to, like, a lot of people here are finding out things just because we happen to be in this talk. So I think a showcase session is something we really should consider.
I agree. And what I think I heard Lizzle say, and I can be easily wrong, but it's almost like 95% of what she said, we've already been working on and planning. I don't know if we're ready yet to do a showcase, just as Raga has said, of what this thing that we are building on looks like, because it's more than just putting a Discord. One of the things, especially in the very first conversations I had with Gus, was how can we build this into a strategy? What are the concepts? What are the reasons we're doing things for? And I know that Gus is very enamored with the idea, just as I am, to have a good strategy that leads to action and not just to act without strategy. And so a lot of the things that Lizzo mentioned, like how do we get the task boards and things, how do you do a wallet, how do we pay, all these things we've been tutorialing and figuring out how do people navigate through. I don't know if we're ready yet to do a proper share, but I could hear a lot of our work there.
Yeah, that sounds great, actually. We could just learn from each other. I do, even if you're not ready, I think you can just share it, and I'll share what you got. And then I think you tell me, but I would be happy to join one of your showcases and learn from you.
But sorry, dude.
No, I don't mind. I don't think that I think we're there yet at a point of showcasing, but I'm more than welcome for you to come and have a look at the Discord, and I can run you through a little presentation that's just to get the brain going. But I pretty much gave you guys now the kind of 2-minute rundown of that presentation in terms of why a website. But yeah, you're more than welcome to come and have a look. I think that once we've actually finished this first level of structuring, we're going to want people to come over and give us feedback. But yeah, we haven't quite finished. Actually, we just laid down the bare bones right now, and we're still getting some basic functions working. But conceptually, if you have time, I'm quite happy to talk you through where we are right now, but it might be a bit early.
So why don't we all put this together in what I call the meta talk, and we just do this on a regular base, and you can just choose one of the days or just drop parts of what you're doing in these sessions. Like the idea that I had before, just do a weekly session where we all come together and we talk about meta stuff for miniDAOs.
Yeah, I'm happy to drop in for sure.
Lizzo, if I think I understand what you just said, is that you would like to have a weekly meeting of probably DAO leaders and people who are mostly involved in the miniDAOs and its running and decision making to get together weekly and to be able to discuss, oh, these are the challenges that we just did, like a 5-10 minute update. Did I hear you right?
Yeah, sorry if I wasn't clear. It's exactly what I thought. If you think weekly is too much, we can also do it like once a month or something, but just to come together and exchange what we've learned over the past weeks, basically. Yeah.
I think weekly's fine, but I think what we should probably do, I think we start with, say, one session and we share that session. So you do the first half an hour, we do the second half an hour or something like that. And, we'll give that a go. We'll trial that. And if we need more, then we can add more sessions in. We just build. And weekly's fine, I think, in terms of just a conversation, updates, and it's a good opportunity to speak to the community, find out what's working for them, what's not working, questions, answers.
I can share a little bit of my experience with this kind of thing. When I was running 86 countries, I had different regions. And the only way to make this manageable, I'd like catching up with my team every 2 weeks. And we'd have a 2-hour meeting, and I would have the Asia region get together by themselves, figure out 30 minutes maximum that they could talk. The Americas, Europe, and then get together and do all that. And then I needed some time for the global talking as well. And so that kind of fostered some intra work between some synergies of different people, geographically speaking, for that particular project. But it allowed us to actually catch up and say, oh, I've been facing these challenges here, or I've just solved those challenges there, and really allow then another layer of conversation to take place offline, but at least you're informed. If you really like what the Americas did to solve this issue, you reach out to them personally and figure it out. And I found that those were extremely useful. That's what I was imagining when I heard you speak, Lizzle. Does that sound like what you thought as well?
Yeah, pretty much actually. Yeah, like this. Because I think at some point we will be too miniDAOs and then we can't discuss everything. It's just more like generally talking about, yeah, that's what has worked very well. Those are the blockers. And then it's just simply so we don't all work in parallel, but we actually try to learn from each other. Yeah, pretty much what you said. Yeah.
If I may, I think that we don't need to tie down to a structure right now. I think that we start from the place that we don't know. I think we run the first, we verify that it was as useful as we think. And then when we feel we're ready for another one, we call out that we should do another one, as opposed to trying to structure something that we think will have that value. Because in the kind of more traditional world, what's the most common thing is to have a week full of meetings that are there because of these rigid structures. And a lot of the times you end up in meetings that added absolutely no value. So I think we start from the place that we don't know and we experiment. We see, yeah, this was really great, or this was nice. And then from there, we can see how it's going to actually get structured by testing it out. Because sometimes it's little things that can be solved by you're running your DAO and you're having your weekly session, and it could be solved by people dropping in and helping out and as you organize how you want your DAO to run. This one, it would be great to have Matt over, or Grant to have Fabs over, or me or whoever, and that does it. And then different from this is something for everyone at the community. It's like we don't know that we'll have updates that are pertinent, in this regular frequency. So let's just take it one step at a time.
I understand your approach, Gus. The one sort of holdback that I would have is that half the times you don't know what you're missing. And so it's difficult for you to think when you are engrossed on the day-to-day activities to think, oh yeah, I really need to drop into Lizzle's meeting. It's easier for you to say, oh, there's this like hour or 2 hour thing on Thursday afternoon that is just an imagination time. I can kind of take a step back just to listen and not be so much engrossed into my day, to explore, to learn. And maybe I learn nothing, maybe I learn something. I agree with you that my experience is not necessarily the process we want to implement, but a sort of a formula of that I think will be quite useful, because you never know what information is going to come into you that fits into a problem that you're facing.
Yeah, I'm not
That
saying you're wrong. I'm just saying we don't know. And the answer, the optimum was probably going to be somewhere there in the middle. And we experiment to figure out where that middle is.
I spent so long in my life with Gus with hearing him tell me, I'm not saying you're wrong.
But I am.
I literally, with like 20 years at least, I've heard him say that to me. I love you, bro.
Yeah, the phrase is, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't know that you're right.
Okay. I just think like my only concern with your suggestion, guys, would be from an organization standpoint, like somebody has to, take the initiative and just organize these meetings. Whereas if we say, hey, it's on a weekly base, then nobody has to put any effort in it. Like otherwise I probably would have to ping Matt and say, hey, can we do it this Wednesday? And Matt would say, no, I can't do it this Wednesday, etc., etc. But if we have a fixed date, then it's fixed, and maybe nobody shows up, and then nobody shows up. What do you guys think?
Yeah, what I'm saying is do the first one. And at the end of the first one, you'll have a sense of how useful it was or how fun it was. And then at that point, you can say, let's try doing this every so many days, so many weeks. And then you experiment with a review. Okay, after the next 4, we'll sit down and revisit the frequency. I'm not saying don't plan a frequency. I'm just saying we don't know what that frequency would be. And then, as you guys are already pointing out, if that's scalable as we start getting more and more DAOs running.
Should I just, I will, tie break this then and just say, yeah, let's just plan for, we're going to go into async mode for the next 2 weeks because everyone kind of needs a bit of a break, or from everything, I think, break. And then we're back on January the 3rd. Obviously, we can stay in touch via Discord, but if we aim for the same time on January the 3rd, that will be the 6th of January. And if we want to, we could do one during the break. And if there's things going on that people need to really talk about, we can do one.
No, it's fine. I think we can take a break.
Yeah, I think so too. So if we aim for the same day, so we'll put it in for the 6th of January and it will just go into the program and we can aim to run that regularly.